All right, everybody. Another tough week, but it's the Tape Don't Lie podcast, and we're back. It's another episode here. We're covering week 4, the review of the loss to the Buffalo Bills, 30-23. It was a game that I feel like the Raiders could have won, but we're going to go over it. Basically, what we saw, some things, some issues, and some things that need to get fixed right away, like very quickly. So make sure you subscribe. Tape Don't Lie podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Check us out on Apple and Spotify as well. We'll make sure we get those links up to you. Follow BD Williams at BD Williams 18. Follow me, the Mark John NFL. Now, once again, you follow BD at BD Williams 18. Follow me at the Mark John NFL. All right, so we're definitely be going over this game. Like I said, I know it was frustrating for a lot of fans. It was definitely a game that they could have won if things went their way, but there's a lot of ugly fumbles, turnovers, mistakes, bad red zone, too many field goals, whole lot of stuff. So, I talked about it earlier this week, BD. I mean, they got to finish drives, bro. I talked about it.
You
The
said
game was
it.
about
Everything you said happened. Everything.
Oh, they needed to finish just as the whole. That was the whole game. I was like, I knew it. Like if they didn't finish drives, it wasn't gonna happen. It wouldn't have mattered because they were able to do good things through the passing game, let's say, and but they just couldn't finish drives, man. There's just way too many field goals, bro. You can't be kicking. How many field goals they kick?
You,
4.
you, you can't fumble it either. You can't put the ball on the
You can't
ground.
fumble either. But
So
man, they kicked like 4 field goals that game. I think three field goals. It's too many. Too many
yeah.
field goals against an offense like that. That's gonna that it's probably gonna just put 30 on you.
Don't
It,
hate me, Raider Nation. Don't hate me. But I made Daniel Carlson my fantasy kicker for a reason, okay? Because of John Gruden's
me
struggles in
too.
the red zone.
Me too. He's coming through, man. It's about a good 12 points a week right now.
Right.
Good 12 points a week.
Right.
That's bad. That's bad. But yeah, the usual. We're gonna be covering the offense, defense, a couple of things that we saw. BD's gonna cover the defense. I'll go over the offense. You guys know how it goes by now. But like I said, make sure you subscribe. Check us out. We're here every week. Of course, we got a preview episode coming after this. So, you know what, guys? Let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. So, what we're gonna be going over here on the offensive side first is the run game. So, run game has been a struggle for a couple weeks. Uh, I mean, to be honest, a little bit all season. I mean, the best success they had was week 1 against the Panthers. And then also, they had a little bit of success against the Patriots, but they didn't have success against in the second half. So, I mean, we see what the most successful play right now is a crack toss, which you just saw the crack toss. But what they're really struggling with, their base run game too, which is the outside zone. They're still struggling there. As you see the outside zone, just getting beat. Everybody's getting beat there. I mean, there's not a lot of good reach blocks that you love to see on a stretch play like this, right? Everybody's getting beat. You see 99, Denzel Goods beat right there. He's blowing it up. There's nowhere for him to go. I mean, the only place that Jacobs could have gone was probably outside, and maybe he took it outside, but he cut it back, and then it's a short game, right? So here's another one right here near the run. This one was a little bit of a mixture of power, right, with the jet sweep, with the orbit motion. So we bring that back. So you see they really tried to duplicate the Rams. I talked about this the preview podcast. You see the jet sweep motion, but you'll see once again. We'll bring it back a little bit. See, Colton Miller misses his block, right? Because what's supposed to happen on this play is Waller is supposed to come up to 31. So you'll see Waller, he's coming right here. He's supposed to come up to 31. Boom, but Miller misses his block. Doesn't allow Waller to get up to 31. So he has to take Edmonds. Then nobody gets to Milano. He makes a tackle. And that's basically the Raiders' run game. They're just missing blocks right now. Nothing is working, right? Nothing is really working. They're also missing Brian Edwards, too. I'm going to say that right now, that they're missing Brian Edwards in the run game. And you're going to see right here with Nelson Aguilar, who just gets totally beat by Jerry Hughes. And I showed And early in the season, I showed a play where Brian Edwards was blocking Trey Henderson, who's a defensive end, and he was blocking him like he's a tight end, right? But not Elsa Aguilar.
Right.
Jerry Hughes already is about to blow up this play. Sam Young can't stop and make that block on Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes forces Jacobs to cut back in, right? Play's already done. It's blown up. So it's a loss. So, I mean, the run game is just not cutting it right now. It's not cutting it. But also another thing about this is that I think Josh Jacobs is a little hurt too. I think Josh Jacobs is having some issues with his hip. And what happened last year too is when he got hurt, his vision started to go away. Like if you guys remember week one, he was excellent. I don't care what his YPC, what his yards per carry was. He was excellent all week one, and he was fully healthy. And even against the Saints, before he hurt his hip, he was good. He was dynamite, right? But you see here, they do another fake jet sweep, which they do with Alec Ingold, which I don't want to get into that. As you see, with this kind of split zone motion that they're doing with, the jet sweep that they're doing with Alec Ingold here, you'll see that watch Tremaine Edmonds right here, right? He is gonna run out of this hole with Darren Waller, and there's just a big hole for Josh Jacobs, and I feel like he just misses this hole. I think he just presses too much, right? And he sees it too late. Like he sees it, but this is when it comes back to him being healthy, right? Because usually Jacobs would be able to make this jump cut. I really believe so. I don't know about you, BD, but I feel like that he'd be able to make this jump cut and get to the hole and at least get 6 out of this. Yeah, so this is the 4th and 1 play, right? And this is gonna be inside zone, right? And as you can see, Ed Oliver, he's already blowing this play up, right? He's already blowing this play up, and you kind of see where Jacobs should take this. And I'll stop it one more time. Jason Witten is about to make a nice block on 27, but Josh Jacobs ends up kind of just running into Jason Witten's back here and doesn't make the play. So I really just, maybe I'm being nitpicky. Maybe you guys could tell me I'm being nitpicky here, but I really feel like Jacobs could have bounced this one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He could have bounced that because there's no way 27's getting off Witten's block that easily, right? So the run game had its issues. It was both a little bit Jacobs being hurt, and it was a little bit of the run blocking and then just not making the blocks they need to make. And it was really across the line. I mean, I showed that there was times Cole Miller missed a block. There was times Sam Young missed a block. There was times Gabe Jackson missed a block. There's times Rodney Hudson missed a block. I mean, it was basically everybody. Everybody had their shot missing a block this week. And then Jacobs added to it by being – looks like he appears to be injured. And also – he missed a couple holes, and he wasn't able to hit those holes like he usually does. So, but let's get into some positivity. Let's get into positivity. Now, Nelson Aguilar had an awesome game, and we'll start with this play that's going to frustrate all fans right here. Was the play action with the deep post to kind of fake the Yankee, right? And just look at that speed by Nelson Aguilar, and he really displayed that he could be a weapon in this offense. I think this whole game,
Right.
I really think that he could be really a part of this offense. And even with Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards out, I think that they'll be fine with Renfro and Aguilar and Darren Waller. And like just getting over the top, like, let me bring it back a little bit on this one. I want you to watch the safeties here with Nelson Aguilar. Watch the safety, right? He is not going back with Aguilar. And a lot of that is because of the reputation of the Raiders offense and Derek Carr. They're not expecting Derek Carr to take the shot over their heads. But of course, it's not a touchdown because there's a legal formation. Well, I think that the Raiders have to keep doing this, especially against the Chiefs next week. They have to push the ball down the field with these throws to Nelson Aguilar. And it was just pretty. This is 55 yards. This is one of the Carr's best throws I've seen in a couple of years, man. That was a great throw. But Aguilar is more than just that. As you see here he is against the zone defense. right? And look at him find the hole. Boom, sit, first down, 3rd and 8. That's 3rd and 8. He's sitting right there finding the hole. That's just good wide receiver work right there, right in the slot,
Good
against
route,
zone.
tell. Good route.
Yep, find the hole, catch the football in traffic, first down, 3rd and 8, 3rd and long. Then we got another 3rd and long here, right? 3rd and 6. Great route at the top. Just great release, great separation at the top of the route. Bring it back one more time. Let's watch that again. Antaron Johnson, who I said they should attack with Aguilar. Look at that right there. Good low throw from Derek to keep him from knocking the ball down. Like they really have to feature him. And Renfro had a really good game too, man. Renfro was running some great routes. Renfro is basically unguardable at this point. He's getting to the point where he's just learning people's leverage and he's learning how to get open. So, I mean, I think the problem with this game, a lot of the issues that was created with this game had really nothing to do with the offense itself. I mean, the run game had its issues. I understand that, but the Raiders, they were still able to keep running the football, which will allow the play action to open up the pass. They were able to move the ball with play action passes all game, right? But this game to me was just more about offensive coaching and the turnovers, like the 4th downs. Like I can't get over that. I can't get over you being in a game 17-13. Your defense hasn't played well all game. It's 4th and 2 from the 7. It's not 4th and 2 from the 49 or whatever. It's 4th and 2 from the 7. And then you kick a field goal, right? And whatever, you probably feel better because the defense got to stop, but then your offense couldn't do anything. But the next drive, the team you're playing against, it's still 17-16. They're up. It's 4th and 1. They're on their own 49. They go for it. And then they go down and score, and it's 23-16. And they're up. Like, would you see John Gruden go for it on 4th and 1 from the 50 if he was up 17-16? Do you
No,
think he
never.
would?
No.
Never. The Bills did it. And the Bills went up and they scored and made it a 7 where the Raiders had to score a touchdown. Yeah,
Right.
it was, 7-point game. Or I mean, they missed a extra point.
Right.
But they made it a 7-point game, right? And I feel like that was the difference here. The difference was, like, John Gruden has to understand that he's playing in 2020 football. This is not 2001. You cannot kick field goals. You cannot beat anybody 24-21. That cannot be your plan. Your plan has to be, I'm going to score 40 points, and I'm going to try to score 40, and then if I don't, I don't. But if I do, I know I tried to do it. And that has to be the mindset, because even if, let's say they went forward on the 4th and 2 and they didn't get it, right? The Bills are backed up. They still stop the Bills. They get the ball like on the 50 or 51, their own 49, their own 40. They still have a chance to go down and score a touchdown, right? And still take the lead 20-17. They're still in the game. You know what I mean? It's not like it would have been that much of a difference. But if they made it, they go up 20-17, and then the whole game changes, right? The way the Bills play, because the Bills they're not a team that's gonna try to get back in the game running the ball. The Bills become one-dimensional, and they have to start passing, and the Raiders know they're gonna pass. Like, it just would have changed the whole game. And I think things like that are what's missing from this Raiders team is that aggressiveness. Because I mean, even Josh DeBoer, which I'm not, he has his own agendas and narratives. He even posted about how, John Gruden's the only guy to kick 4 field goals with fourth and less than 2 yards, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, that I really feel like that was the difference in this game. It's like, it's 4th and 2 in the 7. You have to try to beat this team. Like, you cannot depend on the offense just to meticulously move the ball down the field, and you expect you don't play with the Bucks, man. The Bucks are like, Warren Sapp's not walking through that door, bro. Like, Warren Sapp, John Lynch,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Derek
Like Rondé
Brooks.
Barber, Simeon Rice.
Right. The list goes
Those
on
dudes,
and on.
they're not walking through the door, right? So since those guys aren't walking through the door, you can't expect your young defense to stop anybody. You shouldn't expect it. Basically, what I'm saying, you should be trying to score as many points, and if they get a stop, they get a stop. And then you'd be happy at this point. So I think that was really more the difference in the game, because it wasn't the game plan. The game plan was fine. They ran a lot of play action. They tried to run the ball, a lot of play action passes, move the ball down the field, play action passes. Of course, the red zone. I mean, they had some ugly red zone plays. I mean, I'm not even gonna feature here because I think I'm beating on a dead horse at this point. Like the the one where they didn't go for 4th and 2. They ran the ball with Theo Riddick, right? Which, I mean, if Derek Carr kept the ball, he probably would have scored. Then they did a fade route to Josh Jacobs, who has a bad hip. I don't understand why you're doing a fade route. It was an Ohio concept. You're familiar with the Ohio concept, right?
Explain it to the fan.
Yeah. I'll explain it to the fans. So basically, it's like a quick out and a go route, right? And they ran the Ohio concept with Josh Jacobs on the outside, and then they faded. But then the next down, they ran the same play. He ran the same exact play, and of course, Carr then went to Waller, who was, underneath the sticks, and then they kicked the field goal. I feel like that was the game. That was the game right there. And then after that, and then the Bills went for the 4th down. They wouldn't score it, and then they put the Raiders into desperation mode, and they fumbled, and then Stephon Diggs happened, and then that was the game. I mean, that was basically it, man.
Well, not saying I disagree with you, but I'll just throw this out there though.
Okay.
If Foster Moreau or Nelson Aguilar, if whoever is just off the ball, that needs to be off the ball in that formation. Okay, if that happened, right, that's a tie game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny with how the defense, and I'll get into it later. The defense did nothing good. It was so bad. It's as bad of a performance in terms of just everything that could have gone wrong, that bad thing on defense, they literally did it all, right?
Yeah.
Even with that, the Raiders were, one mistake, Josh Jacobs fumble, Derek Carr fumble, Darren Waller fumble, right?
Yeah.
Callback touchdown, right? They were just one score away from still winning that game. So I think that the offense, like you're saying, the offense does show a lot of good things, but it's just continually each week we see it kind of sputter in key moments.
Beat themselves, basically. They beat themselves, and their coach isn't aggressive. He has to understand that his defense isn't the best in the world. I really feel like maybe he just he's a good leader, I guess. He just had, I feel like from being at the job and stuff, you just gotta believe in your coaches, right? You just gotta he's a good leader, he just believes in Paul. Paul's gonna get it done. He'll get it done.
All right, that's a good segue. We'll jump right into that.
Okay. Oh man.
Paul Guenther. Now, a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about, is Paul Guenther's scheme the problem? Does he run a bad scheme? Okay. I don't think it's the scheme, but I think it's some of the techniques that he asks guys to play being kind of the issue here. Okay. Now, if we watch this play went ahead, kind of made its rounds on Twitter where you got 3 wide open guys, that very first touchdown, right? And I really think that the crux of the issue, and I've seen it so much on tape that I think it has to be something that Paul Guenther has coached, whether it's, Carl Joseph last year, Lamarcus Joyner last year, now Amik Robertson this year. We see a lot of the same thing on tape, and that is playing run, getting your eyes in the backfield when you're in man coverage, okay? Now, we watch this play here. Amik Robertson, he comes in, Lamarcus Joyner got hurt, first play of his pro career. He sees the guy that he's lined up in man against get his hands on and block down. So he flips his eyes to the backfield, okay, when he sees that run action, when he sees that down block, okay, and in the course of doing so, loses his guy, right? And then this guy goes off and, runs touchdown, okay? But it's not just Amik Robertson on this play. All right, it's literally the entire defense. Okay, you see Trayvon Mullen, and if you're saying, oh, it's a rookie, That's why it happened. Like, no, we got Trayvon Mullen here. This is his second year in Paul Guenther's scheme. He's in man coverage. He sees the run action, sees the ball fake, gets his eyes off his man. Okay. And I know he's a man because instead of zoning it up now, he turns and he chases Stephon Diggs all the way across the field. Right. So I know he's in man coverage. All right. And then even look at Eric Harris here. Okay. His man should be the back. He sees play action, and then he forgets who he's covering. Okay. And then you got all these defenders in the middle of the field and all these receivers running free. Okay. So I really think that the crux of the issue here is Paul Guenther asking his guys to play man coverage and play the run at the same time. Now, you might be asking me, okay, so what? What's the problem with that? Okay. Now, this is just an aside. When I played in college football and we had man coverage and I took my eyes off my man to like look at a run action or something like that, I would literally get screamed at. Okay. You don't take your eyes off your man when you're playing man coverage. You don't do it. You are not supposed to be counted on as a run fit player if you're in man coverage. Paul Guenther clearly doesn't believe that. Now, again, these guys are professional athletes, and it's certainly possible. Like, see here, if I'm Amik Robertson and I get my hands on my man, and which is called a contact key or a pressure key, now I can maybe visually key the backfield, okay? But he doesn't get his hands on, right? So it's a tough task to do, and it requires literally perfect technique, okay? And you see what happens when people aren't perfect. It leads to plays like this. Another problem.
Let me ask you. Sorry, BD.
Go ahead,
Do
bro.
you think that is too tough of a task to ask young NFL cornerbacks to do?
Lamarcus Joyner can't even do it. Are you kidding me? I mean, like, I don't think it's about being young. I think you got to be. I think it's a tough thing to do. You're having to worry about a guy and running wherever. Like, you can play the run while you're in zone because you're like, okay, I just need to run to my zone. If it turns into pass, you know where your zone is. But if you're playing man and you say, oh, it's a pass, but you took your eyes off to confirm that, you have no idea where this guy's going because you weren't looking at him. Okay, so it's you have to be literally perfect in order to pull it off. So I think it's a tough ask for just about anyone, and I've never really seen. I guess if Paul Guenther does it, other people must do it in the NFL, but it's not something that is. It's probably only an NFL thing, certainly.
Yeah, or a 2015 NFL thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not working. Another little issue I got with Paul Guenther's scheme is everyone talks about, oh, he needs to blitz more. Okay. And one of his favorite blitzes, and we've talked about this a lot, is called the simulated pressure. Okay. Here they're in a simulated pressure where they send 4 guys, but Lamarcus Joyner at the top of the screen ends up being the 4th guy, and Carl Nassib here ends up dropping. Okay. Now, if you're a 6'7", 275-pound guy, you really have no business being in coverage. Okay. This needs to be a once in a while random thing that you throw as a curveball at NFL quarterback. Okay. It should not be something that happens like 5 or 6 times a game. They're running these sims and asking Max Crosby and Carl Nassib and Cleveland Ferrell, guys who have no business playing in space, okay, to do these kinds of things. Okay. And it's far too often is he taking his rushers and dropping them and taking his cover guys and rushing them. It makes no sense that that's his go-to cover third down call at this point. Okay. Now I like Sims. We've talked about it. I like Sims.
Yes.
But like, come on, does Carl Nassib belong dropping in the vertical hook?
Not against Josh Allen.
Here, okay, come on.
Not against Josh Allen.
All right, and let me just go. Okay, I'll talk about this. So, honestly, it's a little bit of John Abrams' fault here that this happened, first of all. He's walking around, getting close to the line of scrimmage. Everyone's pointing him out. Josh Allen thinks, okay, the blitz is coming from this side. That means I'm throwing hot in this direction, okay? And so when Josh Allen gets his eyes over here, he goes, oh, there's a defensive end over here. Of course I'm throwing this way, okay? And immediately just pulls the trigger. Like, are you kidding me? Easy.
Which is crazy because he did not do that last year. It's crazy watching him play quarterback this year. Like, he's just like, who is this guy?
Okay. So the processing was great for Josh Allen, but I think John Abram kind of tipped it. You want them throwing hot here at the top of the screen, and they're playing what's called a trap coverage over here on this side, okay?
Okay.
In the boundary, meaning the ball's on the hash, so the short side of the field on the boundary, they're playing what's called two sky, which means they're playing a cover two look, but they're sending the corner into the deep half, and now the safety is the flat player on this side, okay? Now, the top of the screen to the field, they're playing trap coverage, which is kind of like cover two. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's basically cover two, except it's a man match cover two, and this corner at the top, okay, wants to jump the out route. So he's not going to cushion a vertical if he gets an out route. He's jumping it, okay? And so what I mean by Jonathan Abram kind of messed this one up here a little bit is that we want Josh Allen, okay, thinking, oh, I'm getting blitzed from the field. I need to throw hot to the field, okay? And John Abram can just relax and chill out and just play in his zone back here, okay? So, again, attention to detail. Paul Guenther is not instilling it in his guys. We want them throwing hot to the field, not to the boundary, okay, where you got a 280-pound guy who has no business playing in space, right? So the scheme, I think, isn't doing his players any favorites, or like playing any favors to his players. But another big issue that the Raiders have right now is Lamarcus Joyner, okay? Lamarcus Joyner is going to block me on Twitter. He's going to hate me after this, but I got to do it, Raider Nation. Here he is. He's playing man coverage. I really like this call, actually, because you got Eric Harris robbing the inside. So this is kind of like a cover one robber where the safety is playing the rat instead of a linebacker, okay? And, I mean, there's nothing special. There's nothing fancy about this. He just simply gets beat, okay? He's not able to do it.
I love how Josh Allen like goes to his first read and then he goes, "Where's Diggs?"
Yeah,
it's basically his process because that's what he did here. I don't
even know that. To Diggs, it might be first read to whoever Lamarcus Joyner is covering. Honestly, so he's not a guy who's going to consistently win. I mean, I know this is Stephon Diggs. He's, one of the best route runners in the NFL, probably top 5 route runner in the NFL. Okay, but he's not a guy who's going to be able to match up against these really good route runners. Okay. Another thing that we saw here, and I tweeted this one out. This was the second touchdown. This is man coverage here. Okay, cover one. All right, and they're 3 to the field, and they end up having Nicholas Morrow on the 3-man side, okay? And what happens is everyone is buying a man here. And all guys are buying their man, but Lamarcus Joyner jumps out to try to help out Nicholas Morrow, okay, for some reason, and lets Cole Beasley go down the seam, unfettered access to the end zone here, okay? Now, some people have said, well, what if this was Nicholas Morrow who didn't do the right read? You know what? You might be right. But when I'm watching the Raiders since Lamarcus Joyner came, every time there's a cover problem where 2 people are covering one guy, and we already showed you one example of that when he's covering Damon Arnett's guy and gives up a free first down against Carolina, okay? Every time that happens, Lamarcus Joyner is always involved. So at some point, it's got to be this guy is continually doing the wrong thing, okay? And one thing I'll also say, in defense, you want the quarterback to throw the widest, shortest throw. The widest, shortest throw is here. It's okay for him to throw that. You got 3 guys coming to rally and tackle that. Okay. What's not okay is if he just throws right down the seam, okay, to Cole Beasley for an easy touchdown. You have to cover the inside of the field first. All right. So this is a cardinal sin of defense. You can't do that. So there's really no point for him to jump outside on that one. There's another one. Okay. Again, they're in cover one. They end up it's called slinging the fits on this play. So it's a sound defense. It's a little bit of a modern NFL thing, modern football defense thing, where now you got Eric Harris playing inside linebacker with Nick Kwiatkowski, and then Corey Littleton is playing man, like he's a strong safety, away from on the opposite side of Lamarcus Joyner. But everyone has a man here, okay, and Eric Harris and Nick Kwiatkowski are gonna, funnel or combo off of the back. Okay, so this is cover one with the rat in the middle of the field, all of their cover one calls. And so that means Lamarcus Joyner's man is this tight end here. Okay, he's got man-to-man on this tight end. And when he sees the tight end getting to pass protection, Lamarcus Joyner thinks, okay, I'll just try to help out, freelance a little bit here and try to help out with Stephon Diggs, and makes, fourth and, instead of it being 4th and 9, it ends up being like 4th and 1 or whatever it is. Okay. So, and this is just constant with Lamarcus Joyner. He's always freelancing. He's always taking his eyes off his man. He's always trying to guess, and it literally never works. Okay. How many interceptions does Lamarcus Joyner have since he's come here? Exactly. Okay. The guy is constantly out of position everywhere. Every way you look, he's constantly out of position. Now, this last one, it took me a while to figure this out, okay? But eventually I realized this is the same exact play that I showed you where Carl Nassib was dropping into coverage, okay? The field, remember that means the wide side of the field, the ball's on the hash. The wide side of the field at the top of the screen, okay? They're running trap coverage and sending John Abram on a blitz, okay? And now to the boundary, they're playing that two sky where Trayvon Mullen is going to back up into the deep half. Max Crosby is going to drop to the hook, and that means that Lamarcus Joyner should now be the one dropping to the flat, okay? This is the same exact play, except because the passing strength was over here to the boundary. This is a field pressure, meaning they're sending the pressure from the wide side of the field. Lamarcus Joyner gets confused and just decides to blitz anyways. And instead of being in coverage, okay, to stop this is just as easy of a throw and catch for a first down as you're going to see in the NFL, okay? And again, it took me a while to figure it out. But once I looked at everyone's responsibility, I realized, oh, this is the same exact play. The Bills just did a good job of putting the formation into the boundary. And now if you look at it, the only person that's confused is Lamarcus Joyner. He even runs straight into Malik Collins, okay, because he's doing the wrong thing here, okay? So again, everywhere you look, Lamarcus Joyner is always messing up. He's always freelancing, doing the wrong thing, out of position. It's just constant. And you could say some of these things, like Meek Robertson, if he gets his hands on that guy and rides him a little longer while he's, reading, he can, avoid getting beat that bad for a touchdown. Okay. Maybe you could say that. Maybe you could say some of these things about, guys taking better angles to the ball or fixing their open field tackling, and then the defense can improve. If that was the only issue, okay. But as long as Lamarcus Joyner is out there, okay, this defense is not going to reach where, Paul Guenther and John Gruden think that it could, because this guy's always messing up. And I mean, it sucks to say it. Maybe he's just not used to kind of like an if-then adjusting defense. And what I mean by that is when you have that blitz call and it's a field pressure, right? A lot of places they're going to say, okay, we're going to call a blitz and we're just going to run it no matter what.
Mhm.
But then plenty of other defensive coaches are going to say, okay, no, we're not going to run it necessarily out of the same formations or same alignments. We're just always going to run it from the field. And so if they send the strength of the formation to the boundary, now the guys on the backside need to adjust and, yada, yada, yada. Basically what I'm trying to say is there's thinking that's involved here. And I don't think it just seems like Lamarcus Joyner, it's not processing for him. He's doing a lot of guessing when he's out there.
I gotta let you know, man. That was depressing. That was depressing to watch.
I have, and this is from one game. I have so many examples, so many clips of Lamarcus Joyner just doing the wrong thing. Okay.
Wow.
And like, again, I could be wrong. I'm willing to say it. I'm not in the huddle. I'm not in the organization. I'm not in the meeting rooms. I don't know who's wrong. Okay. And all of those without any kind of measure of kind of doubt. But when every time that there's a mess up, Lamarcus Joyner is always involved. At some point, you got to start realizing, like the guy's blowing it out there.
Oh man, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. I mean, when are they really going to be like, let's bench Lamarcus Joyner? Do you feel like they would do that? I don't feel like they would.
And the thing is, there's no one else who could play the nickel.
Like how Paul Guenther wants the nickel played, right? He doesn't want the nickel play like every other team wants the nickel. I mean, just because of what you've shown. I mean, even that man coverage with the block and, they want them to play the run. I feel like sometimes they want the nickel to be like a linebacker, like a third linebacker.
Well, he is a linebacker. He's always on the second level of the defense. I mean, they're playing a lot of their base 4-3 stuff just with Lamarcus Joyner on the field.
Right. See, like, and that's why when Amik Robinson comes in, I mean, that type of play action play, I can see that happening to a linebacker, like with the tight end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. With the tight end, like, and with the leak play, because that's basically what that was a leak play, but it's a wide receiver. So, I mean, you really wouldn't expect a slot player to get got with the leak play like that. Because let's talk about the Patriots. We could talk about the Patriots week before. The Raiders ran a similar league play with Hunter Renfrow, and Cyrus Jones, he did end up peaking and then end up losing Hunter Renfrow, but he was still in his coverage with Hunter, even though Hunter leaked out, right? Like, right. It's, yeah.
And the difference is the Patriots, I know, they're a man match team. And so they're playing man, but in order to match when you're a man, you have to be looking at receivers. You can't be looking at the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a zone match. So, there and we know New England has great discipline, and I just think that that's what it takes to be able to for Paul Guenther's defense to work. Is it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of concentration, okay, a lot of attention to detail. And I think just on paper, Paul Guenther's scheme is fun. Like, okay, if you're asking an NFL player, they get paid literally millions of dollars to play man and key the run at the same time. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but does it actually work? Is he actually teaching the guys how to do it? Is he teaching them how to be disciplined enough? So I think the attention to detail is seriously lacking for Paul Guenther. And so that's why I don't think that his scheme's ever really going to work out. Because I think it's going to take like actually great, great position coaches. Like look at Dave Lippincott. Okay. For everyone who doesn't really know, if you're not like a serious Raiders defense junkie like I am. Okay. Dave Lippincott is the linebackers coach for the Raiders. I don't know if Dave Lippincott would be a linebackers coach on any other team in the NFL. Look at Jim O'Neill, okay? When Derek Ansley left to go be the defensive coordinator at Colorado?
Tennessee. Was it Tennessee?
Okay, Tennessee. I think he turned down Colorado to come to the Raiders or something like that. Anyways.
Yeah.
So he left to go become the defensive coordinator at Tennessee. I was like, okay, who's going to be the defensive backs coach? Right. And I was like looking at all the past defensive back coaches that John Gruden has worked with in the past, yada, yada, yada. And then they ended up making their senior defensive assistant, Jim O'Neill, the defensive backs coach. Okay, and to his defense, he has coached defensive backs before, but like I don't think that Jim O'Neill's kind of like almost flamed out of the NFL, and then they gave him a second chance, right, with the Raiders to be, just like a defensive assistant and just like do whatever, and then he becomes the defensive backs coach. So I don't think that these guys have quality position coaches, honestly. And I think that that's what this is going to need. You're going to need like some really top flight, serious position coaches, and more of like a demeanor of enforcing discipline and attention to detail. And I don't think Paul Guenther has that.
So I feel like there's a trend this episode, and I feel like it's called coaching. I feel like that's the trend. I feel like that's to be the name of the episode. Is coaching, because I mean that's what you're saying. You're saying that. I mean, because to be honest, I had no idea who the Raiders linebacker coach was, and I don't think that's a good thing. I feel like I should know that.
Yeah.
I feel like I follow the Raiders pretty heavily. I seriously had no idea who the Raiders linebacker coach was. Like he never even comes up. Like nobody even brings him up or anything. He's kind of just like in the weeds.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this guy's a heck of a coach. Maybe he is. Okay. But judging from how poor the linebacker play has been, and now Corey Littleton comes and does not look like the same Corey Littleton, I'm not convinced that this guy is really.
And what did Corey Littleton say at his press conference? He said, "I can only do what I'm coached to do."
Yeah. He doesn't seem thrilled about the coaching. That's for sure. So, yeah, I don't think that these guys have quality position coaches, honestly, on the defensive side of the ball. You look at wide receiver, okay, Edgar Bennett. You look at the running back coach, okay, Tom Capel. You could maybe you'll say these guys aren't like elite position coaches, all right, but they're quality.
Yeah,
they're like they belong. If they're not on the Raiders, they're going to be on another NFL team. Yeah, right, coaching. Okay, I don't know if you could say the same thing for a lot of these guys on the defensive side of the ball. To be honest with you,
man, that's a problem. That is a problem. I don't even know how. Because let's say that because even this year, right? Even if they fire Paul Guenther, you just brought up an even bigger problem, right?
Yeah, who's gonna right? Exactly.
Like you fire Paul Guenther, who's the defense coordinator. All the coaches are still the same. Like this has to be like a. Yeah, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. Who's gonna take over for if Paul Guenther, if they do fire Paul Guenther, right, and maybe Rod Marinelli takes over. I mean, they still have the same position coaches. So what is really gonna change? I think that's a good call out because I don't think anybody really puts that together. That fire Paul Guenther, but what really happens after that if we have these position coaches that I have no idea who they were? That is great. I just was thinking about that. Like, man, I really.
Yeah. I do think that, I think that the one thing that you could say about firing Paul Guenther is Rod Marinelli uses the same exact personnel. Okay. He's a 4-3 guy, right? And I just think that the philosophy would be a lot different. I don't think that there'd be as much thinking, and it would be more of just like going and trying to be disruptive. Like if you look at Paul Guenther's Rod Marinelli's philosophy about defensive line play is not like we're talking about maybe on like one of the early episodes of this pod about how Paul Guenther likes them to play the run and then get into the pass rush. If it's not a run, Rod Marinelli, he's just like, go. Cause disruption. Gaps are going to open up, but whatever, we're going to make some splash plays. We're going to make tackles for loss, and we're going to have a pass rush. Okay. And sacrifice maybe, like one or two big runs a game. And just let the chips fall as they may, right? And I heard Georgia Loca talk on a podcast. He went and played for the Cowboys when Rod Marinelli was still there, okay? And this is after Georgia Loca obviously played in Paul Guenther's system in Cincinnati. So he was talking about the differences between – it was like really random that this happened, but he was talking about the differences basically between Rod Marinelli and Paul Guenther, okay? And in Dallas – they didn't want him disguising. They just wanted him like, you're going to line up. We're going to be in single high. You're in the box. You're a strong safety. And that's how we're going to line up. Don't start shading over and pretending like, no, we're just going to play. And I think Rod Marinelli's thing is simplifying. And maybe there's merit to that. Okay. But I do think that it would help these guys play a little faster and not be confused out there. Whether or not the scheme is sound is another thing, but it would probably eliminate a lot of the confusion that we see on a week in, week out basis from these guys not really understanding or just being confused on what their responsibilities are.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds reasonable. But I mean, there has to be. You just would wish that they would have made this change like last year. I think 2 years of bad defense is enough for me. I would think, especially if you're the head coach. I mean, 2 years of bad results. I mean, in any other job would get you let go. So,
You
I
remember?
don't
You
know.
remember when?
I don't know, guys.
You remember when Jack Del Rio let Musgrave go and kept Downing, right?
Yeah.
To me, letting Ansley go and not just promoting him to defensive coordinator, letting Brenson Buckner go, and you see how his defensive line now in Arizona is performing compared to the Raiders' defensive line, right? I think that similar things are happening where Paul Guenther is trying to get his buddies, and he's letting good coaches leave the building. And, as far like that's not going to get you anywhere. So a lot of this is on John Gruden. He's not he's at fault for basically hanging on to dear life. Because like even if you look at Mike Zimmer's defense hasn't worked in Minnesota, and he's the originator of this Paul Guenther scheme, right? And they haven't been
Yeah.
playing good defense in like two years. So if this is the master of it, and you see those results, then the apprentice's results are even worse, right? But
it's like maybe it just doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Because like Mike Zimmer is crazy on third down. I mean, he was for a while there. Like if you got the third down along with Mike Zimmer, you might as well just throw the ball into the ground. Almost, it was just ridiculous. He would throw. You didn't know what was coming. Where they're coming from, who's dropping back. Like it was, yeah. But
and the difference is like if you look at the Minnesota Vikings defense, the way that they're built, right? You got blue chippers on every level of the defense, right? Whereas Paul Guenther's running the same scheme, and he's got like bargain basement guys at every level of the defense, right? So even Mike Zimmer in his struggles, he's struggling with some elite players, Kendricks and Barr.
Like Eric Kendricks.
Yeah. Harrison Smith. Look at these guys.
Smith.
He's got some serious players. Like the defensive ends over there, right? And even the Minnesota Vikings defense has struggled, especially against like good teams that have put up points on them. So
yeah,
you can only imagine like what Paul Guenther, not as good as Mike Zimmer, running the same exact scheme with worse players, with worse position coaches. So I just don't think it's ever going to get any better as long as Paul Guenther's here and as long as Lamarcus Joyner is starting in the slot. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Can't say anything good about it.
Man. Yeah. I mean, bro, we got
I told you I was going to
weeks
rip.
left.
I told you I was going to rip them. I told you I was going to rip
We
them.
got 11 weeks left. We got 11 weeks.
Hopefully,
bro.
this loss is a kick in the butt because they're going to get, I mean, what's the chances of us beating Kansas City, right? Like Patrick Mahomes is going to have to get COVID for this to happen. Okay. And even then, who knows? Right.
I mean, I'm with the Kansas City game. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I really feel like they're gonna need like some fumbles. Like they got a fumble, they got like a run, they got like a run back a kick. It's gonna be one of those games. They run back a punt, they've run back a fumble for a touchdown.
Kansas City
like,
is not
it's gonna
punting. Kansas City will not punt against his defense. Okay, there will be no punts. Okay, they will score every time, guaranteed. Okay. The only way, and even if you look at the Saints game, the Saints were dropping balls like crazy, and the officiating is what bailed the team out. So, like that could have gone the other way. If it was the same way that it was that the refs called these last 2 weeks, Saints game could have been a loss. So,
yeah, Saints game could have been a loss, and then, I mean, the Panthers game could have been a loss, bro. If they didn't have,
it was going back and forth. Yeah, so this defense hasn't looked good at really any stretch of the year here. So,
Well, I mean, people will tell you the Patriots game, they play well. They just got tired.
they just got tired because they were having to chase down these end arounds and these toss cracks all
Well,
game.
but I will say this. I mean, watching the Chiefs play the Patriots, I mean, it was 6-3 that game, and the Chiefs defense, they didn't get tired. And the Patriots had the ball the whole game.
It's interesting how that
They
works,
didn't
right?
they didn't get tired. Next thing you know, they're doing pick sixes. They won the game for the Chiefs, basically. So, I mean, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Yeah.
These narratives people have are hilarious. They say I'm trying to have a narrative. You guys talk about defenses getting tired. The
Look,
defense.
I don't think people understand. I don't think people understand. You do not get tired in an NFL game. Practice, all that stuff is so much harder, okay, than the game. You're not getting tired in the game, okay? That's not how it works. These guys are professional athletes. They've been running around their entire life. They've been playing football their entire life. Okay, and you're telling me, oh, one game, you're just going to get tired. It's not like you going to the gym and playing a pickup basketball game, and at the end of the pickup basketball game, you're sucking wind and you start, and you're trash all of a sudden. That's not how it works, okay? These guys aren't getting tired in the game. The adrenaline is going crazy, okay?
It's with the damn halftime. They got a halftime. They went to halftime. I mean, like 20 minutes. There's like a band playing. The halftime's like 20 minutes. This is not tired.
I shouldn't have even addressed that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the listeners.
I saw. I didn't want to at the guy. This one guy was like, well, if the defense gave up 25 points a game, they would then the team would still be. There would still be a winning. They'd still be 2-2. And I was thinking, like, that's like 20 less points. Like, what are you talking about? Like, people they just hate Carr so much. They just try to act like this defense is like they try to like hype up the defense a little bit, because if they say the defense is bad, they have to acknowledge that Carr is trying without a bad defense. And if you acknowledge that he's trying without a bad defense, then you acknowledge that he needs more help, and that you're in trouble. You can't acknowledge.
Yeah.
You can't acknowledge the defense. You can't acknowledge it. But
I'm just gonna keep it standalone. I'm just talking about the defense. I'm not talking about Carr here. Okay, you have to. So you're not off the hook here, Marcus, because you're doing the offense. I'm off the hook. I don't have any opinions about Carr.
Carr played well this game. Besides the fumble, he played well. So I'm not. Just really. I mean, you really can't. People just don't think that you could play well and lose as a quarterback. There'll always be fans that think that a quarterback does not play well and lose.
Well, it's every fan base too, because you look at Dak Prescott. I think he had one interception at the very end of the game when Amari Cooper quit on that route, and he had like how many yards? 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then people on Cowboys Twitter, I guess, were like, Dak Prescott sucks or something like that. So
yeah,
it's every
garbage time, Dak. Garbage time, Dak. You know what I'm saying? Some fans cannot believe that a quarterback can play good and lose. It's just the way it is. I'm not going to argue with those guys. I mean, they're not. I'm not going to change their thought process by giving them a bunch of stats or something. They don't care about stats. They're just going to be like, "Oh, Carr sucks because he lost." It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he fumbled. Look at his fumbles. Even though like 2 of them have been by Richard, but they counted for him. You know what I mean? Like, they don't add context and stuff like that either. They're just like. They found one thing, because he's not playing bad. That's why I always laugh. Like, this whole Trey Lance thing is funny, because all these fans are gonna be disappointed in March. I would
actually love to see them. Like, Trey Lance is perfect because he's not ready to start in the NFL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like a couple years, do the little red shirt treatment like they did to Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Just ride the pine.
That would be smart. That would be the smart thing to do.
You need that. You need that because say Carr leaves or retires or they move on from him, you can't. John Gruden's offense does not work with a rookie quarterback. You can't be a rookie and do this offense. There's no way, right? So he would need someone who's been sitting there and learning it for like years before they could actually perform on the game. If anyone has a complicated scheme, it's Gruden. Okay.
I still think it's Peterman, but I was telling Glenn that he didn't like that. That's Peterman. He's agreed with Peterman to be the
Peterman is the guy, right? Gosh.
they're gonna move on from Carr, not draft anybody. Everybody's gonna be like, why did they draft anybody? Like, well, we think Peterman
Right.
can
Peterman
start.
knows the scheme. Okay. That'll be the day when I quit this. I will not go on air with you. I'm just gonna be watching Raider games, just pissed the entire time.
It's just, that would be funny. I'm sorry. I just think that. But anyways, guys, we're at an hour. I think we've been going a little long today. We're just kind of a little shocked by this defense a little bit, I guess. But we hope you enjoy this episode like we do every week. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for sticking with us. We're at over 1,100 subscribers right now. We really appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody that reaches out to us. Somebody reached out to me and said we're the Brett Coleman of Raiders. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll take that. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take that one. Some of these film guys might get a little offended if they compared us. But I'll take Brett Coleman. I'll take Brett Coleman.
So he said Raiders need a Brett Coleman and a Vok Lombardi. So I was like, okay, man, we'll take that. So, I appreciate everybody that shows us love. I'm saying follow us on Twitter at @DMarkJohn, NFL at BDWilliams18. I'm saying make sure you follow us there. We post clips there. We make comments about the game and our thoughts there too as well. So follow us and then make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're a first-time listener. If you're first-time calling us across us, you're like, who are these two guys? Hit the subscribe button. We got great content for you. So thanks for sticking around with us, guys. And we appreciate all the love that we've been getting. So all right, guys.
All right, thanks, Raider Nation. We out.
See you.